About that time, eh chaps? Welcome to this week's WARNO devlog for Nemesis 2.3 Second Wave. And I know, like me, you were all eagerly awaiting to see if there was a British division coming, and indeed there is. Let's skip over the usual pleasantries and get into these two divisions. So unlike the previous Nemesis divisions, these two weren't necessarily going to be fighting against each other. These are both backline supporting role divisions, the first being the British Support Command and the second being the 34th Tank Division of the Soviets. So tally-ho, old boy, what do the British Support Command bring to the table? Well, the British Support Command encompasses all units not under the 1st BR Corps in Northag, so not the main combat formations in other words. HQ, British Army of the Rhine, the BAOR, was situated in West Germany, and in case of war, the BAOR would come under direct NATO command and turn into Northag. The remaining elements of the HQ BAOR would form the British Support Command. The formation's mission was to secure the Corps' rear area against communist infiltrators, saboteurs, special forces or airborne drops. It was also to take command of any reinforcements from the United Kingdom which didn't have any direct combat assignment. As such, the BRSC could count on 7 infantry battalions, 1 regular and the rest being territorial army, as well as many independent AA artillery and security units, all the way down to lone companies. While the TA troops were very lightly armed, the British Army stored lots of older equipment on the continent. This material, despite being obsolete, would have been a great help to bolster the force's firepower. In other words, you gen mean we're going to get a load of old stuff. So how will the British Support Command look in-game? Well, logistics is a very good category for the BRSC. The formation was in charge of keeping the supply flowing to the 1st BR Corps, meaning a well-stocked and capable logistics train. You'll deploy the Light Rover 101 FC supply, the medium new AEC Militant Mark III, and the massive Fodden 16-ton truck, which has a huge 3,000 supply. The latter will be bound to the road and hardly be able to move off-road. And of course you'll get access to a fob. You'll also get the Chinook supply helicopter, and your command vehicles will be the Rover Command, the FV-510 Saracen Command, and the FV-105 Sultan. The Saracen Command there is a new one apparently. The infantry tab is another good place for this division, with a good combination of slots, a variety of costings, and some interesting units. Of course, all of the existing Terrier squads will be deployable in Jeeps, trucks or Saracen. The rifles leader and Mott rifles in trucks and a Saxon will be available, but a handful of cards only. Numerous squads with a security trait. Much like its strong logistical category, the battlegroup's primary mission was rear area security against enemy threats and maintaining order and discipline. This means lots of HSF squads and a new RAF rifles, the real one, not the existing reservist Berlin-based ones, which we will rename, they say. Plus pioneers, and the latter squad will be specifically in charge of HQ security. 2 companies of the famous and dreaded Gurkhas were kept in reserve as demolition groups. These were to blow up bridges or other infrastructure if things should go haywire and the Soviet breakthrough was all but assured. Teased in WARNO's Army General campaign, Left Hook, these special soldiers are featured as half platoon of air mobile troops. They feature a 12-men, so supersized squad with the L85A1, 3 L86A1 LSWs, and a Law 80. The Gurkhas having extra Law 80, we also decided to create a 6-man Gurkhas AT group, featuring 2 of these anti-tank weapons, plus the Gurkhas Rifles leader. All Gurkhas will come with shock and resolute traits, plus veterancy, but with only a few cards. On a personal note, it's really nice to see the Gurkhas getting a proper outing in this one. Artillery is a rather average category, as they didn't have their own. It did command over several training units and field depots filled with stored weapons. As you can imagine, the artillery forces available will be a hodgepodge of many different gun types. These include the standard L16 81mm mortar and the L118 105mm howitzer. In light of us introducing the British MLRS to other divisions, seeing service only a few months before our World War III kicked off, the M110A2 it replaced wouldn't be far removed from the action. operated by unvetted crews, so basically they're going to get the hand downs. There were also plenty of old World War II era BL 5.5 inch 140mm in storage. Finally, the 3 TA observation post batteries assigned to the BAOR reportedly retained the World War II era QF 25 pounder, or 87mm. These were field guns and kept in perfect working order till 1990. Tank tab is also pretty average in terms of its options, costs and slot availability. Gathering all serviceable chieftain tanks in the area of command, including those in training units and under repair in workshop, warrants a card of the older Mark 6/2 or even older variants to be determined. The British Army had hundreds of even older Centurion tanks in storage, some of them pre-positioned in West Germany. As is common practice in war, obviously, tanks still make perfect mobile pillboxes to protect airfields or other key infrastructure. This warrants the inclusion of a single card of the Centurion Mark 13. Airfield security was a domain of the RAF regiment. As we already featured the RAF rifles, the current variant will be renamed as mentioned previously, we will continue with this practice and add some armoured elements, one card each of the RAF Scorpion and RAF Scimitar, both in the tank role and with a security tray. And to round it off, there will be loads of Rover Milans. Okay, Recon tab is absolutely terrible, they say. Abysmal is the term they use. The battle group isn't able to count on any dedicated Recon battalions. This means a classic selection of Scouts, Terrier Scouts, Ferret and Fox. And some Recon helicopters will appear in the form of unarmed and new Westland Scouts. To be perfectly fair, Eugene, I'm not sure I'd call that abysmal. I mean, unless they all cost 3-point slots. Okay, what about anti-air? Well, it's a pretty good category, as the division would take over all AA assets not assigned to the 1st BR Corps. This will include various flavours of the king of all non-self-propelled SAM and manpads. You'll get to play with the Rapier FSA, the Rapier FSB-1 and the new Rapier FSB-2 Starfire, with 2 additional missiles per launcher, plus the standard blowpipe, Javelin and Javelin LML. We're also going to throw in some of the RAF stored Tiger Cat SAMs. Now, when they said abysmal, what they should have probably been talking about was the helicopter category. So there weren't any combat helicopter detachments in the area to provide support to the BRSC. If this Nemesis option is picked, we will see if the division needs some foreign rotorcraft or can do without, so they might just end up with nothing. So maybe you should have saved the abysmal word for that part. Okay, can the air tab bring this back? So the BRSC's air support will be plentiful, they say. The exact composition of this category has not been determined yet, but unlike the helicopters, the battle group's mission was airfield defense. This means quite a few options will be available in both air superiority and close air support sorties. As with other rear area divisions, this will include trainers turned light attack aircraft. One of such examples is the new Hawk T-1A, and some older F-6 Lightning fighters will also be added. These were kept in storage in the United Kingdom, almost 2 squadrons worth. So they say the BRSC would play not too dissimilar to the West German Territorial Commando SUD or the East German KDA. The British division will be a reserve battle group relying on quantity and cheap units over high quality equipment, with plenty of infantry, artillery and strong anti-air and air forces. Alright, let's move on. So the Soviet 34th Tank Division. So this was a Category C type, meaning the lowest level of combat readiness within the Soviet Army. Originally formed under this name at the start of World War II, the division, as it was during the Cold War, began its second life in 1957. The armoured formation was based in the Byelorussian Military District. You mean the Belarusian Military District? I'm confused. Maybe there's 2 places. Where a skeleton crew kept it dusted off and functional during peacetime. As far as they can tell, they say, the 34th Tank Division was the last remaining Soviet armoured division to be fully equipped with T-62 tanks. The division was not maintained at full strength and would incorporate a large number of reservists to get onto a war footing. Being the lower tier of combat readiness, the formation was also very low on the priority list for new or updated equipment, or even having its aging ones replaced. The 34th Tank Division never transitioned to the T-64 or the T-80. It was even short of the venerable BMP-1. Other forces were also lacking, such as not being able to count on any organic artillery at all, save for a few BM-21 grads. Being garrisoned near an artillery training division and artillery schools, the industrious 34th Tank Division command staff would likely have dragooned some long-range indirect fire pieces to bolster the division's artillery arm. So how will it actually look in WARNO? Well, in the logistics tab it will have a good amount of slots, a good variety of costs, however it will lack helicopter units. First up, it will get the medium Ural 4320 SNAB, the heavy Kraz 225B SNAB, and the armoured MTLB SNAB as its supply vehicles. In command, it will get a Belzor Jeep, a Chakia, and a BMP 1K3. There will also be a new unit, the MV650 Commandatura, a command motorcycle with a sidecar, which we hope will bring our Steel Division 2 fans some happy, carefree memories. Much like the previous British division, the infantry tab is pretty strong considering this is a tank division. One card of Motorstrelky BMP with the new BMP-1 SP2 as a transport option. This latter unit is armed with older generation Malyukta ATGMs, the same as the DDR version. The rest of the Motorstrelky squads are centered around BTR transports. This includes the new Reservisti unit, which is a 10-man squad fielding AKM, RPK and RPG 7VM with 14 armor penetration. Finally, a Soviet unit with the reservist trait, they say. The ratio between regular soldiers and reservists in these divisions should be 1:2. The Sapri commander and Sapri squads will be the same as other Soviet divisions. The new Res Sapri, armed with older AKMs and LPO flamethrowers, and also carries the reservist trait into battle. As mentioned, transport options will be between Jeeps, trucks, the BTR-60, and the older turretless and new to the game BTR-60PA. The Commandatura and Zagrotroyad military police units will help keep the weary green recruits and reservists in line. Infantry support weapons include the usual array of SPG-9s, ATGMs, PKMs, automatic grenade launchers, and the new Res NSV. The artillery tab will be pretty average, but with some new and interesting units. These include regimental artillery pieces such as the old, but new for the Soviets, M43 82mm and the PM43 120mm mortars, only seen with our East German forces so far, and the ubiquitous D30 122mm howitzers. As mentioned, the 34th Tank Division could only count on BM-21s, but no organic tube artillery battalions. As the Grad turned out to be the main indirect artillery system for this battle group, it will come as both the HE and Napalm variants, so it's getting really good artillery basically. I mean, the BM-21 Napalm is devastating. To beef up its artillery forces, if it needed it, which I don't think it did, Eugen, the battle group will receive a smattering of other weapons, likely occurring in transit from the rear to the front. These will include the 2S3 Aktasia, an old World War II era but new ML-20 152mm howitzer, and it will also be the sole Soviet division fielding the Bandanner wheeled self-propelled artillery gun. These Czech units were made available to the Central Group Forces, Soviet Army stationed in Czechoslovakia, with the school located near this division. I'm sorry, that artillery tab is ridiculous. So surely now it falls down in the tank tab. So tanks, as can be expected, is a pretty strong category. I guess not. With lots of cheap slots. Oh, okay. The 34th Tank Division will have access to numerous T-62MKs, T-62M1s, T-62Ms, and T-62MVs. Additionally, older and new to the game Res T-62 OBR-72s and Res T-62 OBR-74s with a reservist trait will also be made available. And dedicated tank destroying units will be restricted to a few older and new BRDM-2 Malyukta P and the BRDM-2 Flangella Ps. So hang on a minute, Eugen. So far this division has really good support, really good infantry, really good artillery, and a really extensive tank tab. Surely then, the Recon tab is where it starts to fall down. Oh, wait. Recon forces in this battle group are pretty decent. This will include the classic Razvedka Sapri, the Mot Razvedka, the latter squad deployable with the Raz BTR-60 PB transport. New Res Razvedka with 4 AKMs and an RPG-18 sporting the reservist trait, 1 card each of the BRDM-2 and the BRM-1, and a new unit will be the Res MV650 DN GEPR motorcycle with sidecar armed with an AGS-17. Think of this as a faster but more fragile UAZ with an automatic grenade launcher. Okay, moving on to anti-air. Anti-air is average, they say. Finally, a weak part of this division, maybe. With the division's regimental AA weapons limited to a few BRDM Strela 1s, and older, as fielded by East Germany, the ZSU-23 for Schilkers, they will, however, also get manpad teams which will vary between the usual Igla and the Res Strela 2. Heavier anti-air systems amount to the older OSA with only 4 unboxed missiles and less range. In the march to the front, and to make up for the lack of AA systems, the division would also commandeer the Res AZP S60 towed 57mm guns. So it's not a great AA tab, but it's certainly not bad. Just maybe lacking something truly long range. When it comes to the helicopter tab, it's not very promising, they say. The sole helicopter regiment located nearby to the 34th Tank Division had already gained quite a lot of notoriety because it was the one that was involved flying dangerous rescue and water dousing missions at Chernobyl. As a result, one of the regiment's 4 squadrons was disbanded. This means that, and no, they won't be radioactive, the helicopter support will come in the form of a handful of older Mi-24Ds currently only featured as East German. These will be in the anti-tank role, and they will have the Mi-8 in a fire support one. So they're still getting an actual half-decent helicopter tab, because they're actually getting some helicopters. And then finally the air tab. Oh, could this be the bad tab? The top line. Air forces assigned to this division are very good. However, they say, while moving west to join the fight against NATO, the 34th Tank Division relied on the powerful Belarusian Military District's Air Force. Now, this is Belarus, right? I looked it up because I genuinely wasn't sure. So, it's the Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic back then, which I'm assuming you still pronounce as Belarusian. But in English, you would pronounce it Belarusian, because it's BYE. Sorry, that was a complete aside. I just thought it was quite interesting because I didn't know that. Anyhow, they will have several Su-25 regiments deployable, and these will form a sizable core of the divisional air support. Other aircraft to be added will be picked from the Belarusian air regiments, the MiG-29, the Su-24, the MiG-25, as well as the older Yak-28PP in the electronic warfare role. Well, there you have it. So they finish off by saying the second echelon 34th Tank Division strength would be its large number of cheap tanks, chiefly the T-62, further backed by reservist infantry and a strong air force. What I would say to that, Eugen, is, where is the weak part of this deck? I mean, I will grant you it's not rolling around with T-80s, but it feels strong in every area. Okay, so it doesn't have the strongest infantry, but it has spammable infantry. It's got really good logistics, what is likely to be very spammable infantry to flood areas. It's also going to have an exceptionally good artillery tab, a very good and spammable tank tab, a good recon tab, a decent AA tab, although lacking long range. However, it still has what sounds like decent helicopters, and then what is probably going to be very good air. And I assume it will have plenty of ASF to make up for the lack of long range AA. It sounds like the spammable version of the 39th. I don't know, what does everyone else think? I think that sounds really strong as a division. Probably a bit too strong, that it's just good in every area. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Good to exceptional in every area. That is everything for this week, but do let me know down in the comments. I'm curious, which do you prefer? 2.1, 2.2, or this 2.3 set of divisions for Nemesis 2? As ever, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next week.